Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to speak to the restless heart. In a world that's moving faster than ever, where pressure builds like a storm, and voices all around try to shake your peace. How do we stay calm? How do we remain unbothered, anchored, unshaken in the middle of chaos? I believe there is a strength, not of this world, that allows you to walk through the fire and not be burned. There is a peace that surpasses understanding, and tonight I want to help you find it. Because your calm is not weakness, it's your greatest weapon. And when the world throws its worst at you, you'll learn to stand with grace, with power, and with purpose. Let's talk about how to stay calm and unbothered. Protect your peace like it's sacred. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant demands for your attention, peace becomes one of the most valuable things you can possess. But here's the truth. Peace isn't something you find lying around. It's not given freely. It's not stumbled upon. Peace is cultivated, nurtured, and fiercely protected. And once you have it, you must treat it like treasure, like something holy, like something no one gets to touch unless they've earned the right to be near it. Your peace is not up for public access. Not everyone should have a key to your mind, your emotions, your spirit. People will try to drain you, intentionally or not. Life will test your boundaries. There will be moments where chaos knocks on your door, sometimes even disguised as opportunity. But if you're not careful, if you're not intentional, your peace can slip right through your fingers. It starts by understanding that not every battle deserves your energy. Not every invitation to argue, to defend, to prove yourself is worth your RSVP. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response. Sometimes walking away is not weakness. It's wisdom. The one who protects their peace knows that just because you're capable of engaging doesn't mean you're called to. Maturity looks like choosing peace over pride, choosing inner stillness over outward validation. There will be people who misunderstand you. That's okay. There will be times you're not included, not celebrated, not seen the way you hoped. That's okay too. Because peace doesn't come from being understood. It comes from being aligned. When your heart, your values, your spirit are aligned with your purpose, the noise loses its power. You don't need to shout over the crowd when you know who you are. The calmest person in the room is often the one most rooted in who they've become. Protecting your peace also means setting boundaries, and not just with others, but with yourself. You can't expect peace to live in a life filled with self-inflicted chaos. The late nights, the overcommitment, the toxic habits, the endless scrolling, the constant comparison, those are internal thieves of peace. And sometimes it's not the world that's stealing from us, it's us. It's the unchecked thought patterns, the overthinking, the people-pleasing. Real peace requires discipline. It means saying no when it's easier to say yes. It means resting even when the world tells you to hustle. It means staying still when everything in you wants to react. That's not just calm, that's control. And listen, there will be storms. Protecting your peace doesn't mean avoiding the storm. It means learning how to carry peace into the storm. It's knowing that calm is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of clarity. It's the inner knowing that whatever's happening outside of you doesn't have the authority to shift what's inside of you. You can face uncertainty with faith. You can walk through disappointment with dignity. You can rise above offense, above criticism, above noise. Because your peace doesn't come from people, it comes from within. It comes from a deep place that doesn't change with the weather, a place you built over time with intention and conviction. And let's be honest, this kind of peace is offensive to the world. When people can't get a reaction out of you, when you're not rattled by the same things, when you don't gossip, don't clap back, don't beg for attention, it confuses them. Because we live in a culture that thrives on reaction. But you're not here to react. You're here to rise. You're here to build a life that honors your values, your mission, your calling. That requires protecting the atmosphere of your soul. Your peace is your responsibility. No one else will guard it for you. No one else will protect your energy, your time, your mind. That's your job. And yes, it will cost you some people, some opportunity, some comfort, but what you gain is worth far more. Because when you live from a place of peace, you make better decisions, you attract better energy, you communicate more clearly, you sleep better, you lead with purpose instead of pressure. Peace becomes your foundation, and from that foundation, you'll build a life that's not just successful, but whole. Respond, don't react. That simple shift in mindset can change the entire trajectory of your life. Reactions are quick, impulsive, emotional. They come from a place of survival, from instinct, from ego. But a response is thoughtful. It's intentional. It's rooted in awareness. And in the space between stimulus and response lies your power. The power to choose how you show up, how you carry yourself, and how you protect your peace. In a world that's constantly pushing your buttons, trying to get a rise out of you, learning to respond instead of react is one of the most powerful things you can master. People will say things to provoke you. Situations will arise to challenge your emotions. Life will press you, sometimes to the point where your patience feels like it's wearing thin. But in those moments, the key isn't to let the pressure control you. The key is to pause, to breathe, and to choose clarity over chaos. Reacting is easy. It's what we've been conditioned to do. Someone insults you, you clap back. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you yell. A text rubs you the wrong way, and before you've even thought it to reply, you'll regret. That's reaction. It's fast, it's fiery, and it almost always adds fuel to the fire, but a response, that comes from strength, from security, from emotional maturity. It's the calm voice in a heated room. It's the pause before the email. It's the inner check-in before the outward expression. To respond, you have to be grounded. You have to know yourself. Because when you don't know who you are, you let every little thing shake you. You become a puppet to your environment, your emotions, your triggers. But when you're grounded in truth and purpose and confidence, you don't just feel everything, you filter it. You don't let every thought become a statement. You don't let every feeling become an action. You give yourself permission to feel deeply, but still choose wisely. Responding means creating space between what happens and how you handle it. And in that space, you gain clarity. You begin to see things not just from your perspective, but from a higher one. Maybe that person who spoke harshly is hurting. Maybe that situation that frustrated you is actually protecting you. Maybe that door that closed wasn't a punishment, it was redirection. When you respond instead of react, you become a student of life, not just a victim of it. You learn, you grow, you rise above. But responding doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you choose your power instead of giving it away. Because every time you react out of anger, frustration, or insecurity, you hand your power to something outside of you. You give control to circumstance. But when you respond with calm, with discernment, with strength, you keep your power. You remain in control of yourself, and that's where true leadership begins. In relationships, this is everything. When you respond instead of react, you communicate with intention, not just emotion. You listen to understand, not just to reply. You don't jump to conclusions or assume the worst. You ask, you reflect, you express yourself with clarity. That's how trust is built. That's how connection deepens. That's how unnecessary conflict is avoided. Because the problem is never just what was said, it's how it was handled. And in your personal life, your goals, your dreams, this principle still applies. Challenges will come. Setbacks will happen. People will doubt you. You might even doubt yourself. But if you react to every difficulty with fear or frustration, you lose focus. You get distracted. You let temporary emotions sabotage long-term vision. Responding means stepping back, seeing the big picture, and asking, what's the best next step? It's about keeping your cool when things don't go your way. It's about adjusting the plan without abandoning the purpose. And it's about staying centered in the middle of change. This kind of emotional intelligence doesn't come overnight. It takes practice. It takes self-awareness. It takes being honest with yourself about your patterns, your triggers, your tendencies. But the more you practice responding, the more peace you'll have. Because you'll realize that you're not responsible for everything that happens, but you are responsible for how you handle it. That's where your freedom is. That's where your power lives. Detach from what you can't control. So much of our stress, anxiety, and restlessness comes from trying to manage things that were never ours to carry. We wrestle with outcomes, obsess over opinions, worry about the future, and replay the past. But the truth is, peace begins the moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. The moment you release your grip on what's out of your hands, you start to take hold of your own power. We live in a culture that glorifies control. Control your image. Control your narrative. Control how others perceive you. But the deeper reality is this. The more you try to control everything, the more you suffer. Because no matter how hard you try, you can't control people's choices. You can't control how others feel about you. You can't control outcomes that are shaped by 1,000 variables beyond your reach. And the more energy you spend trying to fix everything around you, the less energy you have to manage what's inside you. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you give up. It means you accept that your responsibility ends where someone else's free will begins. You can love someone deeply, but you can't make them love you back. You can give your all to a dream, but you can't force the timing to unfold on your terms. You can speak truth with kindness, but you can't control whether someone chooses to hear it. When you detach, you stop forcing. You stop chasing outcomes. You start showing up with full presence and effort without being owned by the result. It's not easy, especially if you're someone who cares deeply. It's natural to want things to work out a certain way. It's human to feel fear when things feel uncertain. But freedom doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from surrendering the illusion of control. When you detach, you begin to realize that peace isn't found in fixing every problem. It's found in trusting the process. Trusting that what's meant for you will find you. Trusting that even closed doors serve a purpose. Trusting that not everything that goes wrong is actually wrong. It might just be making room for something better. Detachment also allows you to reclaim your emotional energy. Because when you're constantly reacting to everything that's happening around you, you live in a state of emotional exhaustion. You get pulled in every direction. You take on everyone else's energy. You carry burdens that were never meant to be yours. But when you detach, you create space between what's happening and how you experience it. You develop emotional boundaries. You learn to observe without absorbing. You see things clearly without being consumed by them. This mindset is especially important in relationships. Whether it's with family, friends, or coworkers, you can't force people to change. You can influence, you can inspire, you can lead by example. But the moment you take responsibility for someone else's decisions, you lose yourself. Detachment means loving people without trying to rescue them. It means supporting others without losing your own stability. It means saying, I'm here for you, but your healing, your choices, your path, that's your responsibility. In your own journey, detachment teaches you patience. It helps you embrace uncertainty. Because sometimes the breakthrough doesn't come when you're striving, it comes when you let go. When you release the need to control, you open yourself up to flow. To possibilities you couldn't see because you were so focused on forcing one outcome. You start to see detours as divine redirection. You stop panicking over timelines. You learn to be where your feet are, knowing that every step has meaning even if it doesn't make sense yet. This kind of mindset doesn't mean you stop putting in the work. It means you put in the work with presence, with intention, and then let go of the rest. You show up, you do your best, and then you release the outcome. You keep your peace whether it works out the way you hoped or not. Because your worth is not in the result. Your peace is not in the perfection of the plan. Your strength is in your surrender. Your power is in your perspective. And when you finally detach from what you can't control, You start living with the kind of calm that doesn't shake when things around you do. Master the power of the pause. In a world that rewards speed, where instant reactions are the norm and silence is often mistaken for weakness, there is something deeply powerful about the ability to pause, to stop, to breathe, to reflect before you respond, to wait before you move. That pause, though it may seem small, holds the potential to shift outcomes, protect relationships, and preserve your peace. The pause is where clarity lives. It's the space between emotion and action, between trigger and decision. It's the moment where you choose not to let your feelings run the show. Anyone can react. Anyone can lash out, fire back, or speak in the heat of the moment. But it takes strength to pause. It takes wisdom to wait. It takes maturity to say, let me think about this, instead of rushing into words or choices that can't be undone. Life is full of moments that challenge your patience. Someone says something offensive. A situation doesn't go your way. You receive disappointing news. The temptation is always there to react quickly, to defend, to retaliate, to correct. But the pause gives you power. It gives you space to ask, what is the outcome I really want here? It gives you time to shift from emotion to intention. It lets you operate from your values rather than your impulses. We often associate strength with fast action, with being the first to respond, with always having something to say. But real strength is restraint. Real power is measured in your ability to stay still when everything in you wants to explode. The pause isn't passive. It's active. It's a deliberate decision to create room for wisdom to speak before ego does. It's not about ignoring what you feel. It's about honoring those feelings without letting them control your direction. The pause is also where growth happens. When you train yourself to pause, you become more self-aware. You start to notice your patterns. You catch yourself before the spiral begins. You recognize the moments when you're tempted to act out of habit rather than purpose. That self-awareness is what leads to transformation. It's how you stop repeating the same mistakes. It's how you become more intentional with your words, your time, your energy. In conversations, the pause can save relationships. So much damage is done in the seconds where we speak without thinking. Words once spoken can't be taken back. But a pause can give you just enough time to ask, is this helpful? Is this true? Is this necessary? The pause lets you communicate with clarity rather than emotion. It helps you listen instead of interrupt. It helps you de-escalate tension rather than fuel it. And sometimes that's just the strongest statement you can make. The pause also strengthens your leadership. Whether you're leading a team, a family, or just yourself, your ability to remain calm under pressure sets the tone. When people look to you, they're not just watching what you do. They're watching how you respond. The leader who pauses commands more respect than the one who reacts impulsively. The parent who pauses teaches more by example than by lecture. The friend who pauses before judging becomes a safe space, someone who responds with grace rather than assumptions. Even in your personal life, the pause can be a sanctuary, a mental reset. When your day feels overwhelming, when decisions are piling up, when your emotions feel loud, the pause gives you a moment to breathe, to check in with yourself, to ask, what do I need right now? Instead of charging ahead mindlessly, you reconnect with your purpose. You remember what matters. You move forward with intention instead of burnout. The pause is a form of discipline. It's training your mind to slow down, even when the world is speeding up. It's choosing stillness in a culture of noise. It's realizing that you don't have to respond to everything right away. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to solve every problem in one breath. The pause lets you release the pressure of perfection. It reminds you that it's okay not to have all the answers right now. That peace can be found in the waiting. That clarity comes in quiet moments. That strength is not always loud. It's often found in the stillness between moments, in the breath you take before the breakthrough. Let stillness be your superpower. In a world addicted to motion, where people are constantly rushing, chasing, proving, and performing, Stillness is rare. And what is rare is powerful. Stillness is not inactivity, it is intentional presence. It is the ability to be fully grounded in the moment, to hear your own thoughts, to feel your own emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It's a strength that doesn't shout, but speaks with unshakable authority. We've been conditioned to associate movement with progress and noise with importance. If we're not constantly doing something, we feel like we're falling behind. But the truth is, some of the greatest growth happens in the quiet. Some of the most powerful decisions are made not in chaos, but in calm. Stillness gives you access to a deeper wisdom. It allows your intuition to rise. It invites clarity to speak. It makes room for perspective, for healing, for insight that gets lost in the rush. Stillness is not the absence of life. It's the essence of control. It's being able to sit with yourself and not feel the need to escape. It's being comfortable in your own presence without the need for constant distraction or validation. When you master stillness, you stop running from the uncomfortable parts of yourself. You face them, you process, you learn, you grow. Stillness is where transformation begins because it forces you to confront what's real. This kind of inner peace isn't passive. It's active resistance against the pressure to perform. It's rebellion against a world that tells you your worth is measured by how busy you are. Stillness says, I'm enough right now. It says, I don't have to move to matter. That's a bold statement in a society that glorifies burnout. When you choose stillness, you choose power. The kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself. The kind that moves with purpose, not pressure. Stillness also sharpens your focus. When your mind is cluttered, it's easy to make decisions based on fear or urgency. But when you cultivate stillness, you give yourself the space to think clearly. You stop reacting to every little thing. You begin to choose your thoughts, your actions, your words with intention. You're no longer controlled by the noise outside of you because the calm inside of you becomes louder. You become anchored, centered, steady. In relationships, stillness allows you to listen more deeply. To hear not just what someone is saying, but what they're feeling. It helps you respond with empathy instead of ego. When you're still, you don't interrupt as quickly, you don't assume. You don't jump to conclusions. You give the other person room to express themselves, and you create a safe space for connection to grow. Stillness makes you a better communicator, a better friend, a better partner, because it grounds you in presence. When you're constantly on the move, constantly plugged in, constantly giving, you run dry. Your mind gets tired, your spirit gets heavy. You start to feel like you're living life on autopilot, reacting to everything but never really choosing anything. Stillness is the reset button. It's where you fill your own cup. It's where you breathe again, feel again, remember again who you are and what truly matters. It's about stepping back so you can move forward with clarity. People often think stillness means you're stuck, but it's often the very thing that allows you to leap. It's the difference between movement and momentum. One is frantic, the other is focused. Stillness is uncomfortable for many because it confronts the part of us that equates activity with value. But when you realize that your worth is not in what you do, but in who you are, stillness becomes sacred. It becomes your sanctuary. It becomes the place you go not to hide, but to remember your power. Because the world will always try to speed you up, but your soul is asking you to slow down, to listen, to feel, to be. And in that being, you discover strength you never knew you had. You realize that the calmest person in the room often holds the most influence. That stillness isn't emptiness, it's fullness in its purest form. Protect your peace like it's your most valuable possession, because it is. In a world full of noise, chaos, and constant demand, peace is not something that just happens to you. It's something you have to guard, something you have to cultivate, something you must fight for daily. Your peace is your foundation. Without it, your mind is scattered, your emotions are unstable, and your energy is drained before you even begin the day. But with it, you can walk through storms with your head high, knowing that what's happening around you doesn't have to shake what's within you. Every day, you're faced with situations and people that will try to disrupt that peace. Some will do it intentionally, others unconsciously. Some will test your boundaries, some will drain your energy, some will bring unnecessary drama or negativity into your space. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do I let it in or do I protect what I've built? Because not everything deserves your attention. Not every battle is yours to fight. Not every invitation to conflict is worth your RSVPs. It's choosing your battles wisely. It's learning to walk away without explanation, to disengage without guilt, to say no without needing to defend your decision. Protecting your peace is not about isolation. It's about intention. It's about curating your environment, both externally and internally. It's about being mindful of the conversations you entertain, the media you consume, the energy you allow into your space. What you feed your mind becomes your mindset. What you dwell on becomes your default. So if you're constantly surrounded by chaos, if your days are filled with anxiety-triggering news, toxic conversations, or pressure to perform, your peace will be the first casualty. That's why boundaries aren't selfish. They are sacred. They're the fences that protect the garden of your soul from being trampled. This principle applies not just to people, but to your own thoughts. Sometimes the biggest threat to your peace is not external noise, but internal dialogue. The overthinking, the self-doubt, the regret, the what-ifs, they can rob you of peace faster than anything else. Protecting your peace means learning to quiet that noise. It means recognizing when your thoughts are lying to you. It means developing the discipline to interrupt spirals of negativity and replace them with truth. Peace begins where self-awareness grows. One of the most powerful ways to protect your peace is to stop needing to be understood by everyone. You don't owe the world an explanation for your healing. You don't need validation to walk away from things that no longer serve you. The more you chase approval, the more your peace becomes dependent on opinions you can't control. Real peace comes from knowing who you are and standing firm in that, even when others don't get it. Especially when others don't get it. You free yourself the moment you realize that peace is more valuable than being liked, being right, or being popular. Protecting your peace also means slowing down. We've been taught that the hustle never stops. That rest is weakness, that your value is tied to your productivity. But burnout is not a badge of honor. Exhaustion is not a flex. You are not created to live in survival mode. When you honor rest, when you pause, when you make time for reflection and renewal, you are not being lazy. You are being wise. You are choosing sustainability over speed. You are investing in longevity over temporary hustle. Peace grows in the space you create when you step away from the noise and reconnect with yourself. It's also important to remember that protecting your peace doesn't always look peaceful. Sometimes it means having hard conversations. Sometimes it means leaving environments that once felt like home. Sometimes it means disappointing people who don't understand your journey. But protecting your peace means prioritizing your mental, emotional, and spiritual health over temporary comfort. It's choosing long-term well-being over short-term people pleasing. It's knowing that the version of you that is at peace is the version that will show up better for everyone, including yourself. Your peace is not a passive state, it's a daily choice. It's a decision you make every time you set a boundary, every time you say no, every time you choose rest, every time you shift your focus from chaos to calm. And like anything valuable, your peace will be tested. But the more you protect it, the more it becomes your normal. It becomes your home base. It becomes the energy you carry, the presence you bring into every room, the force that stabilizes you when life gets wild. Peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of perspective, the calm in the storm, the strength to stay rooted when everything around you is trying to pull you away from yourself.